Hi there, it's me, Brett Fish, and today I wanted to talk about being or having a loud presence in the room. And probably the best way that I can demonstrate that is by showing you the new haircut and style and colour that I got on Friday, which looks a little something like this. Guaranteeing that I will be a very loud space in terms of any room I walk into. But there are a few other ways that we can be a loud space in the room, and we're going to look at those today. So come, race with me. So how do we look at this idea of avoiding being the loud white presence in the room? And I think there's a bonus here if you are male, as I am. The question of how can I avoid being a loud white male in the room? This is something we call intersectionality, where we're talking about race, but there's a strong thing about gender that comes up in this conversation. There's an intersection of the two, and both are meaningful, and we can learn, white people can learn here, men can learn. If you're a white male, there's two things to learn. And this is a topic which I think people can get quickly defensive on. But we are 12 videos into this, and so hopefully by now you've started to see the value in listening to other voices, in being a bit more interrogationary about the spaces that you're in, and in terms of learning how to say other people's names, in terms of just on the whole being able to listen better and being slow to rush in, slow to give your opinion. And so this will relate to some of the stuff we've said. And I think you see it a lot in a business context. So for those of you in business, you might understand this a bit better. But for anyone who's in regular meetings with diversity in terms of gender and race, this is something you'll see. And maybe the first thing we need to do is become aware of this. We need to see it. So my challenge to you is the next time that you're on a call where you do not have to speak, so you're not leading it, you're not expected to speak, and there's a bit of a diversity, men and women, and people of different races, I want to challenge you, encourage you, invite you to commit to being somebody who says nothing in that meeting and just watching. Watch who speaks, watch who interrupts, watch who says something and then has somebody else explain that thing they just said, and watch who those people are. Watch who speaks the most often. And be aware of who doesn't get to speak, whose voice isn't heard. Try and see that from a race perspective. How much are white people speaking? What I did to help myself learn this was sit with a chart secretly in a meeting and just make a line every time a white person spoke, black person spoke, colored person spoke. And at the end of it, you get an idea of how many people speak. You can use a stopwatch and just time in a 60-minute meeting, how much of that time, percentage-wise, are white people speaking? How much of that time, percentage-wise, are men speaking? And so we need to be aware as white people and as men that traditionally we have held the microphone. We've been the ones in authority. We've been the ones in leadership. We've been the ones who get to speak the most. We get the ones who have the voices of authority, or are seen as the voice of authority, or intelligence, understanding, leadership, mentoring, so many of those places. And until we see it, and it will take a lot of us by surprise, I think, because we might have an idea, yeah, men probably speak a little bit more than women. We speak a lot more than women. White people, we speak a lot more than black, colored, and Indian people. And obviously there's going to be exceptions to this. Don't come with your one exception of when this doesn't happen. I want to say that for the most part, in meetings, in spaces, in rooms, men tend to speak the most, have the loudest, most forceful opinions, and white men the same. In a room where gender isn't a thing, it will be white women that tend to speak the most, the loudest, the most authoritative, and so on. And so the first thing is becoming aware of this. Our presence in a room, given our history, given our relationships with people, we can't change that. But we can start to become more aware, and as we become more aware, we can start to just move back a little bit. When we adopt a posture of listening, that is us stepping back. And one thing that will help us get there, and this is going to be difficult for a lot of you, is this idea that what I have to say is not the most important thing in the room. What I have to say is not vital, and maybe what I have to say is not even needed. in this particular moment or meeting or ever. That if I only hear another white male person speak, they're likely to say something similar to what I would have said. But if a woman speaks, then I'm likely to hear a different perspective. If a black, colored or Indian person speaks, I'm likely to hear a different perspective to mine. That's not always going to be the case. But I think as we open up to all these different types of diversity, old people, young people, able-bodied, things like that, those with different perspectives and different backgrounds and cultures and stories are going to bring different things into the room. So there's a value in this. Firstly, there's a sense of white people have always been there. We need to step out of those spaces, but not just to give other people a chance. And let me dispel this myth. It's not to give someone a voice. You can never give anyone else a voice. Everyone has a voice. We can silence voices. We can ignore voices. We can speak over voices. We can interrupt voices. We can mansplain or whitesplain voices not like us, which means we take what they've said and we say exactly the same thing in our own words, as if people might not have understood it coming from a black person or from a woman. And so our voices have been used to silence. And one of the ways around this, one of the ways to move forward, because you're watching this because you want to do better, you want to be better, one of the ways is to champion voices that do not look like yours. So specifically, we're talking about black, colored, and Indian voices. But for the men watching this, women's voices, champion them. Create space at the mic, create invitation. If you are the white person leading the meeting, then make sure you make spaces to invite the black, colored, and Indian voices in the room. Not in a way that puts them on the spot, but in a way that is invitational, that says we value what you have to say and we want to hear it. And so those are just some of the things we can do. We can stop talking completely and just spend a bit of time listening. And spend a lot of time listening. We can start to identify in a room, if we're in a room and there's a Q&A afterwards, look at the people that ask the questions. Generally, out of the first 5 people that get up to ask a question, 4 of them will be men, 4 of them will be white men. And most of them, if not any of them, won't ask a question. They'll make a statement, because even though I've been sitting listening to a panel of experts for 2 hours, I, sitting on the couch at home, think I have a better answer for this. We like to hear our voice. We like to think our voice matters. And I'm not saying it doesn't. But I'm saying other voices matter equally as well. And often, other voices matter more so because there's going to be things that we can learn. Different perspectives we can share. New ways of understanding and seeing things. And so the loud white presence, when we walk into a room as a white person, our presence is felt. We can find little ways of narrowing this, lower our voice, step into the background. If there's a group photo, don't be the person in the middle. Just be on the edges, be okay with that. If there's a line for lunch, don't be the first person in the queue, stand back. Serve somebody else. Offer to take someone else's plate and wash it. Little things like this, which are big things, actually. And all that it comes down to is that we need to start doing the work at being aware of our loud white voice in the room. For some of us, our loud white male voice. And to start stepping away, cheerleading, being aware, being observant, and being amazed and grown and excited by all the other voices that start to get more of a chance to speak and to express themselves and to share. Let's do this. This is such a big one. Let's be aware of it and let's start changing it up.